the Lost Foundation of Islam, the New Life movement, and many different branches of similar umbrellas. Us three brothers will be conversating around two main important things when it comes to building a nation. Obtaining and realizing your intellectual property and the importance of banking and commerce in that nation in itself. Now, I won't go deep myself into it because that's what these other two brothers are here for, but I will just lay the platform for what it truly is that we will have to understand when it comes to building a nation, what nations and other nations have done to solidify themselves in history. One thing every nation needs to produce are thinkers. We, as a people, we don't produce many thinkers. Now, when you hear of a thinker, and you think of what it means to really truly think and have thought, some people call it meditation, other people call it prayer. When you manifest something, or you bring about something from your thought and create it. You know, everything we look at in this world came from an idea first before it became manifested. The chairs we are sitting in, the cameras that's recording us. All these things started off as someone's thought to come into reality first and foremost. And how did they get that thought to come into reality? With some form of commerce. They had to have some type of capital to make that thing, that idea, come into the light and into fruition of other people. Why is this so important for us as blacks in America to have claim over ourselves and truly govern self? Well, when you understand that, we have to govern self because there have been so many things that we alone have created here in America that we do not have credit for. We have been property this entire time. So when we create something as property of someone else's, that then also becomes theirs. So we do not own, we've created the refrigerator system, we've created the lights, the cotton gin, but the white man gets all the credit for all of the things that our thoughts created. And that's when we will go more deeper into intellectual property and actually owning your own intellectual property. Because as of today, we do not own what is ours, what is rightfully ours, because we've created it. How do you have these ideas, do all these things for business? So just think, for an example, if you worked for a company such as Microsoft, and you came to them with a technology that made all the computers run on the cloud, but you created the cloud. You came up with the idea for the cloud. You said, oh, this would be perfect for society. But who gets the credit for that creation? Microsoft does. And when you understand that the only reason why you don't get the credit because you're not in control of your own intellectual property. You don't control your own ideas. And the importance of tying that back into a nation, because when a nation does for self, they control their own ideas. And as the millennials, as the youth of our nation, as the youth of who we are today, we have to gain that control back and understanding who we are. What does my intellectual property really mean about me? Now, when we think about commerce, for just one second, we really think about commerce and the importance of an engine, an economic engine for your people. We talk so much about this 1-point-something trillion dollars that blacks in America have control over. But out of that, what are we producing? We're consuming a lot, but what are we producing? And if we want to turn that $1.3 trillion into something that is beneficial for us, we have to truly understand how commerce truly works, how these banks were created to keep us in a kind of poor state that we are in society. To keep black people dependent on the government, dependent on the banks, dependent on debt. We're all slaves to debt now. You understand what I'm saying? Because we do not own our own sense of commerce. We do not control our own money. That's right. We don't control anything when it comes to do with a nation for blacks, to do anything to build our neighborhoods up, to save our communities, to help our people, truly help our people. So we have to understand the importance of becoming our own nation and joining up. Joining the Afro-descendant nation, claiming yourself as yourself, and being a member of the Afro-descendant nation, falling under the umbrella of the New Life movement, coming into the Bop Biz Center to see what everything is really going on and how everything is really happening. That's right. So my job is the intro, really, to these other two really powerful brothers. So I'm not going to take too much more time speaking, because I love hearing these two brothers speak a lot. I really do. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Calfini. I'm still working on pronouncing it correctly. Calfini, thank you, Calfini.
Thanks, brother.
And who's going to go really deeply into what an intellectual property and what your intellectual property truly is. Calfini.
Thank you, sir. Greetings and welcome. I am going to talk a little bit about what an intellectual property is and why it's so important for us to identify it, know its power, and then how we're going to move forward with it. So first off, what is an intellectual property? An intellectual property is a work or an invention that comes from creation. This world you see today was created by a man. He had a thought. He said, I'm going to take this land from these groups of people and I'm going to build something. Then he had another thought. This work is too hard for me. How do I build my nation that I have no clue on how to build? I'll tell you one thing he did. He went to a civilized people. And he said, you guys have your crops. You know how to run a business. Come over, I'm going to take you from your home. I'm going to strip you of everything that you are worth. You're going to become my property, my physical property, and also my intellectual property, because I'm going to create a man out of you, not of what you once were, but what you were going to be for me. So your intellectual property is your own personal creation, and you have ownership over your own personal creation. So having this ownership, you're able to dictate what your creation is applied to, who's able to adopt this application and this work, and also how much you're going to charge for it. But in that sense, we're talking about free people. Free people are able to do whatever they want with their creation. Since you're not free, you do not have these freedoms. One example of your intellectual property that you have from birth is your name. Your name from when you're born is written down on a birth certificate. That birth certificate is ownership of you to America. It says on it explicitly who your parents are and that you are now a citizen of the United States of America. And when you die, there's a death certificate that has that same name and the date on which you were born, on which you died. Excuse me. But with your name, especially with us with unique names, we're given nicknames because they say it's too hard to pronounce our names. Why do they do that? Because these unique names have meanings. My name, Calfini, means destined to rule. In the world, a lot of white boys, and then my Afro-descendant friends as well, call me Cal. They're taking away the power of my name. Destined to rule, Calfini, to Cal. What does that mean? They're taking your intellectual property. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 1, it states that a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches and loving favor than silver and gold. Why is this statement so profound? Why did it say a good name is worth more than silver and gold? When we've been taught that silver and gold, those are the most inexpensive things in this world. I'll tell you why. You can have as many riches, as many clothes, as many smell-good items that will prop you up, but those things do have an expiration date. Your name is everlasting. Ideas are your intellectual property. But how do you get credit for the work that you've created? In America, they might lift you higher. They might say, come work the salary for me. And you do this little bit of jobs. I'll pay you. Slap you on the back one time. But you have no power over your creation. You work for the man. Everything you do, you raise up Pharaoh. Pharaoh is a figurehead. He has not worked for the position he was in. He was born in it. You were born to do Pharaoh's dirty work. That's why they say, go to school, go get a job. Not go to school and go create for self. As slaves, we've been conditioned to take whatever master has given to us. He'll give us the pig scraps on the table that damages our mind. He'll tell you, come work this job for $100,000 a year. And you think that's good money, especially coming out of school. But then your master making $300 million annually. What's a grand? $100,000 to $1 million. Nothing. We're so conditioned by this white man that every creative idea we hear, we question it. We're one of the people that are so unaccepting of new concepts that we just throw everything in the wayside. Snapchat just released their IPO. Everyone said, oh, it's Snapchat, let's not buy it. But let me tell you one thing. A grammar school put $10,000 of shares and they bought them. You know how much they sold them for? $40 million. Just think you put $400 in there and then sold it. You came up. But we don't do that because we don't know. We were turned off by it. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. This Afro-descendant nation is a new idea. It's to create a new world. Do not dismiss this notion. This is a nation that will last forever. They talked about a nation being born inside a nation. Why do you fear that? A nation, America was a nation born inside a nation. Do you not remember that they started off as British colonies? They were British. And then they didn't like what the British did to them. So they said, well, damn you, oh Englishman, I'm going to get out on my own. And with that being said, create for self. Do for self. You have these ideas that are important. Not for just you, but for the world. Go out into this American world and steal his ideas. Be a spy for the Afro-descendant nation. He did it. He stole British ideas. He turned their government into his own government. He just revised it a little bit. That's all we're doing. And with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to my brother, Yosef.
First and foremost, I want to give all honor and praise to the Creator of the heavens and the earth. We thank Him for our ancestors in whatever form or fashion they may be found. We thank Him for men of great significance to us, our founding fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We thank Him for Moses and the Torah. We thank Him for Jesus, Isa, or Yeshua, for the new gospel, or we say Arabic, the Injil. We thank Him for Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, for the Holy Quran. But peace be upon all those worthy servants. But if I can give thanks to those servants that I know only from studying, only from Scripture, I must surely give thanks and credence to the men that touched us, that taught us, and led us in this dispensation of time. So I want to thank the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his two great students, the Honorable Silas Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, our spiritual leader, Ben Ami Hamashiach, who had the spiritual fortitude to take us back to land, language, and culture and reestablish a government. Our teacher, Nasi Shaliach, who taught us through his writings, Know Thyself. And if those two had a spiritual son, it would most certainly be my personal father, Prince Asiel Ben Israel, the international ambassador. And all those great men and women names, I greet you in the words of peace. Salam alaikum. Shalom, shalom. I must go through that opening because, like I said before, we have to give credence to those who preceded us, those who were the forerunners, and those who laid the foundation and platform for us to stand on today. I would do them a great inservice and justice if I didn't let them know and let the universe know, and my generation, the greatness that they had and still have. They gave us this beautiful opportunity to create a world of our own. But as we talk about economics, as we talk about commerce, intellectual property, we have to understand that that is the very science of a people. Understand your intellectual property is the nature in which makes one successful. My brother said earlier, the reality of us looking through the lens of poverty. The only problem with that I see is that that lens that we look through is created through the European eyes. So a lot of times we look at our numbers or our money or our ways to create resources is insignificant because we're holding it to a pedestal that's unattainable in a sense. Why do I say that? Not that because we can't have riches greater than any nation, because we've already set that platform. But we're trying to progress in a society, in a civilization, in a culture, in a nation that was created for our very demise from its inception.
That's right.
That's critical. So when you look at the 1.3 or 1.5 trillion dollars that we spend a year, how can you claim to be poor? Because it's a mentality that you have that allows you to perpetuate the resources that you do have into the funneling of BS. You spend $300 million on Jordans each year instead of creating hospitals, true educational institutions that teach knowledge of self. You spend $900 million on alcohol instead of investing back into agriculture and creating a self-sustainable gardens and an ecosystem that can feed us really and legitimately and not the poison that we consume every day. We have to understand why this was created in a manner to destroy us. So when I look at the European tender currency, I understand what it's created for. And it says this is a legal tender for all debts, public and private. That means every time you use it, every time you acquire it, you are acquiring more debt. And not just a debt in their financial institutions, but a debt of mind. Hear this out now. Because every time you empower that dollar is the same time you empowering your very demise, your very graves.
That's right.
We have to understand this is a science. So I want to read from this book, The Babylon's Banksters, and the subtitle is The Alchemy of Deep Physics and High Finance in Ancient Religion. Finance is a science.
That's right.
We're shooting dice with it. We just getting money and going from mouth to hand. But they understand the scientific nature of it, the connection with astrology and astronomy, the way you're able to predict the outcome of people by how they spend and use their money. So, nonetheless, I want to have my brother, if he can, start this page. I want you to hear the insidiousness of this civilization. And brother, if you can just start right here, the banksters. Here, very clear now, because this is imperative that we get this message, because if we're going to create a new one, we got to know how bad the first one was.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, we're just going to replicate the same system and have the same problems, and it'd be a black face instead of a white face.
That's right.
We already went through that. We already had trouble between nations before the white people. That's how he came into existence.
We destroyed ourselves first.
That's right.
That's how he came into existence. You can only overpower a people if they're weakened. You can't go through that road no more. Brother, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The banksters followed this up in 1873 with the so-called act that became known popularly as the Crime of 73, an act
Keep going, brother.
which effectively forbade the coinage of silver as legal tender, effectively placing America on the gold standard once again.
Why is that so imperative? Because now you can see the manipulation of currency, which is a manipulation of people. They know, especially in America, that silver was more readily available than gold. So you know that you are predisposed to only a specific demographic of people that have available gold resources more than the majority of people that own silver. So if you forbade silver as being a form of currency, you automatically alienate and put a people predisposed to suffering and enslavement.
You just made them broke.
You automatically put them in a position where you create criminality amongst each other, but not amongst them, because you can't get to that level. You got to fight for scraps amongst each other.
Right.
Now they're implanting a mind inside of you. They're manipulating your behavior. So currency manipulation, economic manipulation is behavior manipulation. A lot of times, and I'm going to let brother finish, but I just want to touch on this point. A lot of times we say our number one problem is that we don't have enough resources. We don't have enough finances. That's why we kill each other. Last time I heard the greatest murderer on the planet is the European. He got all the money.
That's right.
That has nothing to do with finances and resources why we kill each other. It's because we're accepting a mind that is foreign to life. That is why. Because the people that really don't have no money ain't killing nobody. I ain't never seen a bum on the street go shoot up nobody. I am saying police officers do it though.
That's right.
I am saying the niggas that want to get a little money that's driving big do it. Or giving to the children that they can easily manipulate, do it. You gotta hear this now. We gotta get past these misconceptions and this deceptive nature of the evil, insidious devil that has reincarnated himself, not just to Europeans, but to some of us. Because we promote their society. Keep going, brother.
Yes, sir.
I get a little hype sometimes.
Get hype. That's what we do.
Yes, sir. Oh, praise the Lord.
Predictably, the act led to vastly shrunken money supply, unemployment, and the depression of the 1870s.
They predicted, it means they foreseen it, that means that they had to study or understand a science of what was to come. It wasn't a hypothesis in the sense they would say, well, maybe it might happen. No, they said they predicted it. That means they seen this outcome coming to fruition.
That's right.
That means it was by design. A particular outcome was set in place to get a certain desired effect.
Yes, sir.
This is what we're facing now. This is just by happenstance. This is by design that we're in this predicament. And so when they give you these propped up figures like Jordan or Oprah and these people, they're so entrenched into the system that they can never do nothing that actually frees people, mentally or economically. So they give you superficial tokens. Cars, some houses. You give me a house, but you have a law called eminent domain. That means you can come get it whenever you want. You tell me it's to aspire to buy your own house, to have your own mortgage, but we know mortgage is just a leeway to death. You preparing yourself for death because most people don't get their mortgage to their late 30s, 40s, a life expectancy of 70. So if you really finally pay the house off, you're dead. And we ain't got into property taxes. Come on, y'all. We gotta wake up. All the things that we think is something to aspire to is the greatest thing that's keeping us in this position we're in now. Keep going, beloved.
Yes, sir. The result was similar to the bankster-engineered depression of the 1780s, for it led to a political revolt of powerful farmers who formed the appropriately named Greenback Party, calling the issuance of state-created debt-free money directly, which money was to be used putting people back to work, improving the infrastructure of the country.
Now, I wanted to put that in. I wanted the brother to say that because I want to show you how they treat their own people. They're cannon fodder to them. They don't have no regard for them, but the reason they put them in a better position than you because you are the threat. You've always been the threat. So they have to have an intermediary between them and you so you can always have an enemy and never focus on them. And don't get me wrong, they got to pay for their crimes as well.
That's right.
Because I don't really look at them as white supremacists. They white extremists because they don't have no supreme power, no understanding, no knowledge. They're just extremists. But if you're going to be an extremist, you got to pay for the causes and your crimes.
That's right.
But they've been deceived as well. Well, it's in their nature. They're programmed to be that way. Well, that's another sign. So we're going to get into that. Come to the next class after the
Wait,
Go ahead, brother. I want you to hear what James Garfield, the president, said in 1881. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. While the Greenbacks never succeeded in placing a national candidate of their own into the White House, their message was heard, and in 1881, James Garfield became President of the United States of America. Garfield proclaimed.
Now listen to this very clearly. Ain't gonna be long, but we gotta hit these points because we've been getting warnings forever, even by their own people. Go ahead, brother.
Whosoever controls the value of money in any country is the absolute master of all industry and commerce.
Brother talked about commerce, we talked about industry, the ability to create, the ability to trade, the ability to control and manipulate the behaviors of the people. You control the money, you control that. Why do you think it's been such a fight for the money? Because we understand economics is not no fiat paper. It's the energy and the minds and the desires of the people. They don't want to control the people. This is what this is about. Controlling the minds of the people, which is you. The only people on the planet has the ability to create intellectual property.
Co-creators with the universe.
There was never a time when man was not, when this planet was in existence. Now. Keep going, brother.
Yes, sir. And when you realize that the entire system is very easily controlled.
It's very easily controlled. Once you know the science, once you know the math of it, and the Honorable Elijah Montos, math is exactly right.
That's right.
Once you know that, it's easy at that point. It's 1 plus 1.
No brainer.
If I control this, I'm going to make this nigga do this. Simple. 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 Tell me when you had your own thought in the last 50 years, outside a few people.
Real thinkers.
And we know their thoughts, but by what it produced. And those who produce thoughts that's contrary to this reality has been their own thoughts. Thank God for the Honorable Silas Muhammad, for my father, for Ben Hamid.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Farrakhan, these brothers who had their own mind, and sisters, and so many others, the Honorable Marcus Garvey. I mean, we can go down the list. But I'm just saying, those are the people we have to look to as inspiration. Not Future, not Jay-Z. You ain't gonna have no future following Future, I'm gonna be honest. I listen to some of the songs down there, but I'm gonna be real. I'm able to decipher. I gotta know why people being programmed with.
You know who you are.
Absolutely.
That's it is.
But boy, I know who he is.
Exactly.
And what he represents. You're the enemy, brother. You telling our children Percocet Molly's, you're the enemy.
That's right.
So you can have a Benz, a Maybach. That's what it's about.
So sell my people out so you can get rich.
But they're not even rich, brother. That's the illusion. They dying.
Tell them, they ain't real.
And as soon as their mission is fulfilled, i.e. Bill Cosby, they destroy you.
You gone. You gone.
They destroy you. Did they let Oprah have some children?
Well, how long is he going?
She got a boyfriend that can't even procreate with her. You hear this now?
Might be procreating with another man.
You know that's the case. Yes, sir. But we gotta look at this through the eyes of a God and not no European devil no more.
Yes, sir.
And I'm gonna say that with exact. By what authority? By the authority that is in me, that's activated by the living God.
That's right.
That's how I can speak on this truth.
That's right.
I don't need nobody to co-sign that from this European world.
Yes, sir.
You ain't hear the men I named before that? They co-signed it by their work, and I'm following in their footsteps.
That's
right.
Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. One way or another, by a few powerful men at the top, you will not have to be told how periods of inflation and depreciation originate.
You can't. Why would you have to? You already know where it's coming from. By the minds that are meant to control the planet. Just read the next line. After he said this, I want to see what happened to him.
As Brown notes, Garfield was murdered not long after releasing this statement.
You telling them niggas and them poor whites what we doing, man? You gotta go. We didn't put you in that position for that. You thought you got yourself there? Why do you think we created an electoral college? We ain't leaving it to the people to decide. Not when they don't got no mind. Not when we control their intellectual property.
We think for them.
We're not gonna let them decide their own fate.
That's right.
Put somebody in this high office that represents their interests. No, sir. You gotta go. You broke the code.
Yeah.
Brother, we go to 235. I'm wrapping up, brother, but we got to hit these points.
Y'all sure?
Yes, sir. Oh, praise be to Allah. Okay. Brother. I want you to hear this ingenious plan. I want you to start with the evidence. Okay, start right here. Yes, sir. But why?
But why, asked Ellen Brown, would the Federal Reserve want to swap the U.S. economy with an inflated supply of borrowed dollars of Federal Reserve notes?
Now we fast forward a little bit, and we went to the Federal Reserve. It was established in 1913, same year that the FBI was established, the same year that the IRS was established, and I think one more was it the Anti-Defamation League that was around that same time. You see these organizations that are put in place to destroy you. So they tell you your income tax is you are obligated by Constitution to do it, but you're talking about something that happened almost 100 years after that. Come on, now we ain't even thinking. The Federal Reserve the IRS is a private police force of the Federal Reserve.
That's right.
It's nothing to do with the American government like that. They got IRS all over the planet, just by different names.
All private corporations.
God, wake up. Go ahead, bro.
The answer is chilling. The evidence, says Brown, points to the scheme between Benjamin Strong, then governor of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and Montagu Norman, head of the Bank of England, of course, to deliver control of the financial systems of the world to a small group of private central bankers.
It is now. It is now. Those who think they control their money, they got some money, they got some influence. Hit us now. You sold down the totem pole.
That's right. The reason, according to Dr. Carol Quigley of the Georgetown School of International Relations, and himself an insider with access to banksters' plans, was that during the 1920s, the privately owned central banks were determined to use the...
Stop for a second. I want you to hear one of the names when we talked about Mr. Quigley was at Georgetown. He was head of the Georgetown School, right?
Yes.
That means they infiltrated the institutions of so-called higher learning so they can program the children going forward to be receptive and acceptive of this mentality. To make them think it's just and right. You put this education on the pedestal and then you control the mind, so you make it seem like this is the highest level in this country. To get it makes you and put you above the normal people. It exalts you in a sense. But all it actually does is makes you fall into a sense of decadence as far as how you perpetuate death, because you perpetuate an insidious society. They said the serpent was the most subtle beast of the garden. That means he was slightly detected. Small, minute things that you missed is what made a difference. Keep going, brother.
The privately owned central banks were determined to use the financial power of Britain and the United States to force all the major countries of the world to go on the gold standard and to operate it through central banks free from all political control.
All political control. No government has the control of their finances no more. And what they did, they made the whole world go to the gold standard. But what they did that was so ingenious, this double, man, you taught him so well. Man, you taught him so well. He made you use the only thing that was accepted in the last couple hundred years, the gold, invested into their banks, and they gave you a fiat currency. Damn. Hear this now. You gave them gold, resources, land, your energy, your mind, and they gave you paper
$1 bill
that you can't even write on. Can't even write on it. You can't even put a class together on it. And told you, this is your new God. It says in God we trust on it, don't it?
Yeah.
What God? But Jesus or Yeshua told us they come from the synagogue of Satan. That's who their God is.
That's it.
It's evident.
That's it.
It's evident. On the dollar, they have the pyramid, but the cap is off, the top is off, with the all-seeing eye. That means that they have disassembled your mind from your base. They have disassembled your mind. You are a people without a head, meaning you are a people without a mind. You can't create. How can you have intellectual property without a mind? Keep going, brother.
Yes, sir. In other words, the scheme, by forcing money to be a reflection of the world's gold supplies, was one of the drastically curtailing the amount of money in circulation as debt, thus setting off a depression.
That's self-explanatory. That's self-explanatory.
Keep going.
Keep going a little bit longer, just 2 more lines.
The plan was indeed ingenious for its cold calculation and cunning.
See that now?
Norman, as head of the Bank of England, was determined to keep the British pound convertible to gold at pre-World War I levels.
But what happened?
Although the pound had lost substantial value as against gold during World War I.
Because somebody else sets the standard. Keep going.
The result was a major drain of British gold reserves.
Oh, every time. They get you every time. They tell you your gold is not worth nothing unless you got this amount of fiat currency to back it. So what you gonna do? Oh, we gotta give them more gold. Gotta give them more gold. But it gotta look at it past gold because you invest in energy, time, resources, your concern, your power. That's what it represents. Because your whole mind is trying to figure out this system. But the system was never meant to be figured out under the guise that they give to you.
That's right.
It's meant for manipulation. You keep trying to find this silver lining like, are they really that bad? Absolutely. These people kill for fun, man. These people kill. These are the same people that put it in their minds to cut your belly, our women's bellies, and the baby falls out and stop on their head. It's the same people. They just do it through different means. Their foot ain't on one baby, it's on a whole country. Damn. We can stop right there, brother. We go to page 291. I'm about to wrap up this last thing, and then we're going to get it moving, man. But you got to know this devil is real, man. You got to know. Start right.
So,
Yeah.
Similarly,
The physics now, the physics of alchemy, and the energy of what?
from the medium.
Hear this now. Go ahead, brother.
Similarly, both in ancient times and in modern ones, we have noted a persistent association of the banking class with the following things.
They didn't come from antiquity, so they had to get it from you. So they're saying what we learned from the Negroes.
A, in ancient times, with religion.
Religion representing the government. We look at it today as just an organization going to a church, going to a mosque, going to a temple, going to, but it's a government. That's why it's always ahead of every religion. Just like it's ahead of every government.
It was the first government.
It's the first. It's the way you contextualize a people. It's the impetus of a culture. That's what a religion is. It's a science.
That's right.
Go ahead.
The temple in ancient times was in turn associated with the following things. With astronomy and astrology.
Yes, sir.
With the science.
The science. Go back to the science, man.
That's right.
You gotta know science, man. I ain't talking about what you've been learning biology in the 9th grade. Environmental science. I'm talking about the real science of the universe that governs all living things.
The Kabbalah.
Real science.
That's right. This is the science of forecasting human events.
Forecasting what?
Human events.
Forecasting what?
Human events.
One more time.
Human events.
Forecasting human events. That means you are able to, what we said earlier, manipulate and predict the reality of the people. You tell them how they're going to act. Ain't nobody making their own choices. They're pre-selected choices that you give them. That's why everybody leads down the same and ends up the same place in the same way.
Idiot.
You gotta separate from this, man. That's what we ultimately get into. You have to.
Got to.
You ain't gonna figure it out. You ain't gonna work. You ain't gonna rise to the top. Ask Barack Obama.
That's right.
No, you can't do it, man.
That's right. You want his life.
Go ahead.
With sacred geometries.
Yes, sir.
Embodied-
Geometry, you said it right?
Oh, geometries. Embodied both in the dimensions of the structure and in their placements and alignments on the earth grid.
It means they understand the true electrical grid, which is the ability, we talk about morphogenetic fields. Every person, each individual has a morphogenetic field. That means you have the ability to control your reality through your mind and your spirit. You are tied universally to the solar system. That's why the mind, the human brain, the nucleus is a replica, an exact replica of the universe. Everything that is found, all the minerals that is found in your body are found in the soil.
Exactly.
You are one. That's why you were given dominion over this planet. In the Quran, it says Adam was Khalifa. That means he was standing in the place of God. That means you would have all the authority and power of Allah God.
That's right.
Not no more. Not when you're following this system.
Not when you playing man.
Go ahead.
With the issuance of money,
Uh-huh.
both in the forms of real money
Uh-huh.
and the facsimile as interest-bearing debt with slavery.
That's the key word.
B, in modern
No, you
terms.
stay right there. I want to get to that point.
Yes,
Because the ultimate end is slavery.
That's right.
Slavery. Last one, 294, brother. Yeah. 294, right here.
We are now at last in a position to see why, at least in ancient times, one finds the persistent pattern of the presence of bullion brokers.
Bullion, that's all. These bullion brokers, that's what they system off of, the bullion. Go ahead.
Or banksters with the temple.
Which is, i.e. gangsters. These are the real gangsters of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because they control governments, they overthrow governments, they control people. These are the real gangsters.
For the astrological and ocular preoccupations of those temples, this would
Which
give
are the people.
such a class immediate access to
So it gives the elite access to what?
prediction,
To prediction of what?
advanced knowledge of cycles of human activity and emotional responses.
I have to keep pressing this point because we have to understand we're up against somebody who plans 1,000 years in ahead.
Mm.
I know you figuring out what you're doing tonight, but they plan 1,000 years in ahead to have your own world, to have your own economy, to really implement intellectual property. You gotta have strategy. You have to have strategy. They have strategy. They're able to predict. They look at the stars. They look at the universe. They study these things. They study nature. Even though they destroy it, they still studying it.
That's right.
They're able to predict and get advanced knowledge on things to come. The cycles of humans. That's why I said prevent the rise of the Messiah, because we know one is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about due for one now, man. Get this out. The Messiah in Hebrew is the word Mashiach, but it's plural. That means it's a people. That's how he talked about in the scriptures. Hey, man, we're going to kill all the babies.
I just want
Pharaoh, time of Yeshua, Jesus, the king said, man, we killed all the babies.
Every baby boy.
yes, sir. Communication for males, hypothesis should be born out of subsequent scientific investigation
Yes.
and experiment.
An experiment. They're experimenting on the babies.
Access to the
That's why in the book of Revelations it said that the dragon was there to devour who? The woman. Meaning the one who's to carry the seed.
Right, baby.
You gotta hear this now, man. This is a science why these babies are like this. Why we like this.
We like this.
That's right.
Not only you don't have no connection to your ancestry, to your knowledge, to your power, you don't want to. No, man, I don't want to do that, man. It's 80 degrees outside. I'm about to go kick it, man. Man, ain't no better day to go get some knowledge.
That's right.
When that melanin hitting the sun, activating that melanin, that pineal gland, you see things at a whole nother level. But you want to use that energy that God has given you, that the sun has given you, to waste it on chasing some tail. Getting some liquor, smoking some weed. Even if you ain't doing none of that stuff, what is you doing? If you ain't building your own world, man. I gotta work today. Work doing what for who? Oh, slave master, yes sir, I got you. Yeah, you gotta do that. You're gonna chop your head off. Keep going, brother.
Yes, sir. Access to the temple would have given them access to a means of virtually instantaneous communication across a great part of the world's surface.
Access to the mind of the original man would give them what? So let's make it simple and plain. The temple. What we call our temple? I'm a head. So access to the mind of the people would give them what? Just say that line one more time, brother.
Access to the mind. Access to the means of virtually instantaneous communication.
Instantaneous at a thought. That's how they're able to create the cell phone, FaceTime, internet, off your mind, off your biology. It's old science, man. We've been doing this, man. That's when the Europeans went into Spain, man. The Moors had paved streets, lights, and they had all that. They tried to suppress that information. So yeah, they were kind of advanced. Kind of advanced? How you think you came to America was able to build? Last time I checked, Benjamin Banneker created or built Washington, D.C. Under supreme science.
That's right.
Not George Washington, not Thomas Jefferson. None of them crackers.
Nine.
He did that, man. Brother said Eli Whitney took credit for the cotton gin. Why the hell would he make a cotton gin? He got slaves to pick cotton. Are we even thinking right, man? So he gonna make these niggas' job easier by making his life harder, by going to be creative and putting things together? Come on, we gotta wake up, y'all. But your temple was disconnected from your body.
That's right.
But we're gonna put it back together today and henceforth.
Yes, sir.
Keep on, bro.
This in turn would have thus afforded them a means to concerted and coordinated activity and social manipulation.
Social manipulation. They don't have to influence you now. Like we talked about earlier, we influence each other.
Do it yourself.
Do it yourself. Do it your brother, your biological brother. You talking about him?
Pretty much.
Come on, y'all. What we got to? Social manipulation at the highest levels.
That's right.
Through what? Social what? Social what? Media. What we using it for?
Nothing good.
Foolishness.
Nothing good.
Brainwash each other.
I gotta wrap up. Keep on.
Yes, sir. The coordination we saw was strongly suggested by the bullion policies of ancient Rome, vice the Far East, and finally, if one assumes the truthfulness of the scenario of an ancient and cosmic war outlined at the beginning.
The war in heaven, just the war in the mind.
That's right.
Hear this now. If you understand the truthfulness of their ability to be gods and know that they're gods, and you're able to manipulate that, if you're able to win that war, you have control over the planet. You have supplanted God. That's why they can, with authority, call themselves gods, because they've conquered God. What do you think? The most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about the story of Yaqub. And what did he create?
The devil. Adversary.
Hear this now, man. Keep going, brother.
If one assumes the truthfulness of the scenario of an ancient and cosmic war outlined at the beginning of chapter 1, access to residues.
So, basically, we're going to wrap up, but I just want to hit on those pertinent points. Understand, we have to understand and implement science. That is our salvation.
Yes, sir.
We can get all the money in the world, raise all the money in the world, do all this under this system, and to no avail if we don't understand the science that it's going to take to create our own world. We can't keep perpetuating this. We have to create our own reality. And that's what we're doing now. Ideation is a science. I want to just read the definition of ideation. It is it's a noun, the formation of ideas and concepts that implement the creation of a world. We'll leave on that note. Come back 2 weeks from now and we're going to give you further down the line the implementation and the necessary steps to take to create this new reality.
That's right.
So with that being said, you could have been any other place on the planet, but you decided to be here. And also, we got Honorable Silas Muhammad coming to town this week. Please come out to Salam Restaurant on Sunday to have a Q&A with the most Honorable Silas Muhammad and at 7 o'clock with a number of other great speakers and hosts. The Afro-descendant nation is going to be there, the Lost Foundation, the Nation of Islam under the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Hebrew Israelites, Prince Isaiah are going to be in the building. Please come and get the solutions.
April 23rd.
April 23rd, 7 o'clock. $100 ticket, but you're getting fed with not just knowledge, but also literal food, substance.
Correction, April 21st.
PM or 8 p.m., 7 p.m. Also, I'm going to pass it on to my brother, let him close out, but I just want to say thank you for giving me your time and your attention, and you could have been any other place on the planet, but you decided to be here. And with that, I leave you in the words of peace. Shalom, shalom, assalamu alaikum.
Again, in closing, we have to realize from what these brothers really just laid down of intellectual property, understanding the science of commerce, not just the money, but the understanding the science of commerce and how we have to now do these things for ourselves, how we now have to reclaim ourselves and our own nation under the Afro-descended nation. The United Nations recognizes us as a people, and now it's time for us to recognize ourselves as those same people.
That's right.
And with that, we say peace and blessings from the MYG group.
Peace, peace.
I don't think I should have said MYG group.
Yeah.
Because the G.
The G is the group.